interesting lights here. Some of those are planes, and they're probably all planes. But you'll notice some of them are swooping down in a really cool fashion. As if, yeah. Not sure what those guys think they're doing. What the hell do these guys think they're doing? An air show at this time of night? There's those guys again.
Fuck. It's insane.
They गुरुद्वारे तो आंदे हैं.
It's not. Those
शीशे
are
ना पाओ
UFOs.
उससे किस्म
What the hell?
It's a noise. See?
Holy crap, what is it? Does it say anything?
गुरुद्वारे तो है. Something's falling.
Huh?
That one's fizzling out.
Yeah, there were a lot. They're just gonna go in.
पीछे.
Stop now after that.
Oh, देखो और आ गया. गुरुद्वारे तो आंदे हैं.
There's more?
What's happening there? Holy, that one's coming so fast. I got to check outside. They're fizzing out. It must have been something that fell from space or something.
You think?
But they're coming from that side, right?
They're
there.
fizzling out.
But they're coming from there, right there. Oh my god, look at that.
Yeah, that's a fireball or something.
Where's
Holy
it
shit.
coming
That's where they're
from?
coming.
Holy shit.
That is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. What did they put on the news or
What
something?
the hell?
Is that on video?
Weird. Yeah. You can't really see it though. Like I can't really zoom in.
That is... It's
But you can
looks
see
like
it.
it's going up.
Yeah,
It's
but
coming still. Like
if-
that one's even brighter.
Yeah.
if it was coming from the sky, why would it be going up? Like you know
they're
what I
coming,
mean?
Like, right by the Gurdwara.
It's like a fireball or something.
But it's going up.
Those ones are pretty intense looking ones.
There's not like flares or anything.
It's weird.
Well, nothing's happening to the planes. It's like they're going back in the air. Remember it happened around like sometime at a whole bunch of people at the Gurdwara and it happened?
Really? I don't know.
Some weird things.
It's so
That's it. It's some sort of something from space.
Space, but they're coming, you seem like from the bottom.
They're
They're
going-
like changing colors. You see that? Look at the video though. You see
Oh,
that?
that's weird.
That is weird.
Why is it flashing in yours?
Oh, what? Yeah, I don't know what that flashing red light is.
Goodness. That is weird.
Whoa.
Oh shit. I don't hear any noise from
No, nothing.
That was fucking
Yeah, they are some of them are
weird.
changing color.
They're changing color on my
That's the weirdest shit I've seen.
video camera.
I know.
Holy
crap.
shit.
I know.
That is so weird. That's like the scariest fucking thing I've ever
Huh?
seen, actually.
Yeah. Dad just phoned and told me.
Yeah, he's like, look outside. I look outside. There's like this bunch of fucking pink shit outside.
Holy crap, that was something weird.
That was weird. They're all going now.
Yeah.
They're not fizzling out. They're just going up in the sky. Wow.
Just listen to the news. I wonder if it comes on news.
Yeah.
11:30.
Abajo. Paco. Ella. Number. The fuck is that? Pazi, tin. Pazi. Bidara. انت فيه هات عدد The fuck is that? Fuck off. Help. What the fuck? What the fuck? Gone. Hut.
The Russian equivalent of Cape Canaveral is called Star City. Until recently, it was closed to outsiders and jealously guarded its outer space secrets. But in the wake of Glasnost, a sightings investigative team was invited to Star City. And when we got there, the first cosmonaut we spoke with told us that he had just had an encounter with a UFO. Sightings went to investigate cosmonaut sightings of UFOs, sightings similar to those reported by American astronauts, but dismissed by American scientists.
A lot of things we see on the picture from space are things we're used to seeing here in the control center down here in Houston. They're ordinary events that surround the spaceship, pieces coming off, water dumps, pieces of ice, insulation. They're just little pieces 10, maybe 20 feet away from the camera.
But within the Soviet space program, cosmonauts insist that they have seen more than just floating scraps of space junk.
I think that we are not alone in the universe. I believe that someone or something of extraterrestrial origin has visited Earth.
In April of 1979, cosmonaut Viktor Afanasyev lifted off from Star City to dock with the Soviet Soyuz 6 space station. But while en route, something strange happened. Cosmonaut Afanasyev saw an unidentified object turn toward his craft and begin tailing it through space.
It followed us during half of our orbit. We observed it on the light side, and when we entered the shadow side, it disappeared completely. It was an engineering structure made from some type of metal, approximately 40 meters long with inner holes. The object was narrow here and wider here, and inside there were openings. Some places had projections like small wings. The object stayed very close to us. We photographed it, and our photos showed it to be 23 to 28 meters away.
In addition to photographing the UFO, Afanasiev continually reported back to Mission Control about the craft's size, its shape, and position. When the cosmonaut returned to Earth, he was debriefed, told never to reveal what he knew, and had his cameras and film confiscated. Those photos and his voice transmissions from space have never been released. It is only now, with the collapse of the Soviet Union, that Afanasiev feels he can safely tell his story.
It is still classified as a UFO because we have yet to identify the object.
Spaceflight itself broadens your horizons to the point which you kind of open up to possibilities.
Dr. Story Musgrave is a veteran of 5 American shuttle missions, who has seen and photographed several unidentified flying objects in space. Dr. Musgrave does not believe they are craft from another planet.
On 2 of my missions, and I still don't have an answer, I have seen a snake out there, 6, 7, 8 feet long. It is rubbery because it has internal waves in it, and it follows you for a rather long period of time. The more you fly in space, the more you see an incredible amount of things out there, and that sort of brings to you really a certainty that other living creatures are out there. Some incredibly primitive, more primitive, some just proteins coming together, amino acids, and some just single cellular organisms, and other civilizations that have been around for a million years that are doing unimaginable kinds of things.
Cosmonaut Afanasiev believes that the UFO he sighted and photographed in 1979 was evidence of just this kind of distant, superintelligent civilization. Does the United States have similar evidence that they're also hiding?
No, I'm sure they would divulge it. That's what NASA's all about. It's about the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. I can see no reason that that would be classified in any way, and I wouldn't let it be. I'm an astronaut, I fly in space. I have 5 flights. The second I see some, I'm going to tell somebody.
We are currently receiving a downlink from Discovery as it passes over the Pacific Ocean. Once again, the Cirrus is part of the AFP 675. The problems that have occurred with the 2 tape recorders on AFP 675 have had no impact on Cirrus. Cirrus is performing quite well. The community, the payload community working with that particular instrument is very happy with the data that they've received. Cirrus is the primary payload on AFP 675. The recorders in question are related to the secondary payloads, specifically the FAR UV, which performs imaging and photometry of natural and man-made ultraviolet emissions, the Uniformly Redundant Array, or URA, which measures spectral and spatial characteristics of the Earth's horizon, and QIMS, the Quadrupole Ion and Neutral Spectrometer, which determines and identifies contamination for Cirrus.
A man with more than 20 years flying experience under his wing, so to speak, saw something extraordinary which later made those headlines as he flew at 4,000 feet near Guernsey. And so did quite a few of his passengers, and so did the pilot of another aircraft that was flying nearby, flying over Sark. And Captain Bowyer is here now to tell his story. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for speaking out, because I know from private conversations I've had over the years with the commercial pilots, sometimes when I'm up in the cockpit with them, they do see things, and they tend not to report them because they don't want to be laughed at or have their careers jeopardised.
Exactly right,
so why have you decided to speak out about this?
Well, I didn't actually decide to speak out at all. Actually, the press asked the company, which I work for, would I mind doing an interview, and the company, being quite a forward-thinking firm, had no objection. In fact, pretty much actively encouraged it. So that's how it happened, really.
Well, how did the press get hold of it then? Did passengers?
I don't know. I really don't know.
You weren't the only person who saw
No,
this phenomenon,
that's right.
were you? There
No.
were some passengers who saw it, and
Yeah.
also another pilot.
Yes.
Simultaneously. Well, look, we've got an artist's impression that we knocked up here this afternoon on our computer paint box. Is that kind of what you saw? Is that a reasonable...
No.
Oh, well, it's the best we did.
Oh, be honest, yeah.
Well, hold that picture.
Well, it's pretty good.
You describe it to us.
Well, it was a brilliant yellow object. The brightness you've got there, about 2/3 from left to right, it was a graphite grey section. If you want to call it a fuselage, we don't know yet what it was. We're looking into it.
And how big was it?
It's difficult to say once again, but I saw it from 50 miles away. So any object from 50 miles away must have been fairly enormous.
Well, what, about a mile long?
It's possible, yeah.
Did it move at all?
It probably didn't move, but I had the great opportunity the other day from Jersey Air Traffic Control, visiting their radar room, and some interesting traces, let's put it that way, from the radar
Really?
indicate that there's a possibility that they did pick up from both Guernsey and Jersey radar traces, spurious traces they call, for around about 55 minutes.
How long did you see it for?
I saw it in total for 12 minutes.
Can I show you a picture? This is, I'm sure you've seen this picture. It's of lenticular clouds, a very rare but known formation. This was taken some years ago. Could it have been something like that? Could it have been some very, very strangely formed cloud, do you think?
No. Well, I think highly unlikely. I've seen lots of lenticularis in my time, but just doesn't look like a cloud.
Well, you've seen a lot of clouds over the last
I also had
years.
the opportunity of looking at these objects, there were two of them, through binoculars, 10 times magnification, and in my view, a very definite object inside controlled airspace, which shouldn't have been there.
What happened? Did you simply lose contact with it? Did it disappear?
Well, I was landing. It was a general flight from Southampton going to Alderney, and the only reason I lost sight of it was because I descended through a haze layer, which is fairly common in that area, and having descended through the haze layer, couldn't see it anymore. But it's almost certainly still there.
Did the other pilot, who was flying over Sark, the island of Sark, did he report it in exactly the same terms?
Yes, because it was sighted, or they were sighted inside controlled airspace. The pilot's under a legal obligation, and I suspect this is where the press
stories come from.
And he's filed a report exactly the same as I have.
Well, let's show you a couple of pictures from the UFO file books. These are genuine UFOs in the sense that no one's ever been able to explain what they are, but they happen. They're not fakes.
Well, that's
over New Mexico.
That's very similar to the sort of thing that I saw, yeah.
Well, and
my passengers.
That was famously
I haven't seen
taken over New Mexico in 1957, and it's not a cloud. That much we do know. I don't know what it is, but it's not a cloud.
Not a cloud. Analysis showed that it wasn't a cloud, but they don't know what it was, hence UFO. This is one from Russia in 1989. Again, analysis shows it's a genuine object. It's not a cloud. There is a cloud above it, a faint one, but that object is not a cloud. Again, is that something...
well, so the object I saw was a very brilliant yellow
much brighter
colour.
than that.
Yeah, much brighter. It's emitting light.
Good. It was emitting. You think it was emitting light?
Well, there was cloud above it and all the way down to Guernsey. And,
so it couldn't have been reflecting sunlight then?
Yeah.
Well, that was what I first thought before I looked at it through the binoculars, that there's a lot of vineries called greenhouses in Guernsey, and the sun may have been reflecting from one of these vineries to the aircraft. You often see them in France as well, on the way down to the Channel Islands, and because the aircraft moves position and these reflections are fixed in place, they often disappear. They always disappear. This one didn't disappear; it just stayed stationary.
If you had to take an instinctive guess, and I'm saying it's guess, so I'm not asking for professionals, because how could you possibly know? Would you say that it was something of this planet or something from outer space?
Extremely difficult. I mean, I think a few years ago you interviewed Dr. David Clark on a very similar sort of thing.
You did, yeah.
About 4 years ago. I spoke to him today. He's in charge of a team that's looking into this at the moment. I have been asked a question by the press, and my simple answer was, I don't think it's from around here. I can't speculate any further than that. But there is some information which is now being looked at, and hopefully better come back one day and give you an answer to this. But at the moment, it's an unknown.
When you fly now, I mean, do you have a sort of slightly heightened awareness of what may be going on around you?
I think, yes, definitely. Yeah, it's not the first object I've seen personally, and I've spoken to a lot of other commercial pilots since this has happened, and they've said on the quiet, you know, come round the corner, I want to tell you about what I saw.
Absolutely, that's...
And I think what's going to happen now, this may have opened the can, and I think what all professional pilots out there ought to be looking at is actually reporting everything they see and actually getting it itemised and written into the CAA, and then perhaps we will find
Well, I have to say, the unofficial first-hand accounts I've, as I say, had from professional pilots, many of them with as much experience as you have, and they're not putting me on, you know, are extraordinary. Some things that some guys have seen. Some see nothing in an entire career. We interviewed a British Airways pilot who also came out in the 1960s. He saw a silver disc, didn't he? He picked it up on his radar. It was picked up on ground radar over the Bay of Biscay. Pretty big, and it travelled at immense speed, way faster than the speed of sound, and disappeared under his right wing. And it was a round silver disc, you know, like they're supposed to be. Extraordinary.
Well, this object looked like a CD disc on edge, if you like, but very sharp and extremely well defined.
Well, thank you very much for coming in and describing it to us. That's fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Millions of galaxies, stars and planets existing in the expanding universe. Could it be possible? Are we being visited by intelligent life forms? Curiosity has its own reason for existence. One cannot help but question the mysteries of eternity, of life, and of the beautiful structure of reality. Keep watching the skies, keep your mind open, and your cameras ready. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to UFOrbs Disclosure channel for weekly UFO and orb sightings.